Hello, it's Brent Shriver, Leverage Lane, and today is Monday, which means it's Macro Monday, and I can't think of a better way to start out your week than being more efficient and effective on your computer. And the best way to do that is install our latest macro. What kind of macro are we posting this morning? Let me show you. All right, this is the macro we're dropping this morning for Macro Monday. This is an Outlook macro, greeting and goodbye. And this macro is great because it's going to automate that communication of saying good morning, hello, have a good night, enjoy your weekend based on the time of the day and the day of the week. Now, we know we should be entering these things in for better connections with our clients and customers and delivering better customer service. But why not just automate this to fire automatically? All we need to do is answer those two questions. What is the time and day of the week? And you can easily customize this macro to do so much more for you if you want to expand across the default greeting and goodbyes that I have listed out here. Now, another cool thing about this macro is you're going to learn a lot about when we can trigger this macro to fire. I'm going to show you how to create a custom button to fire this in an Outlook email, but you can also just embed this macro directly within the existing reply and reply all buttons. So let me work down this page. If you've yet to see this macro in action, go ahead and see this See It in Action video here. And here is all of the code for the greeting goodbye macro. Now I want to show you something. This is your first time using VBA. You need to complete these 3 steps. Activate the developer tab, update your macro security, and set up references for leverage and lean macros. Now I want to show you how quickly you can do this morning. So let me go into Outlook. I'm going to navigate up and drop down the Customize Quick Access toolbar, and I'm going to go to More Commands. Heading over to the Customize ribbon, I'm going to navigate over to the main tabs, and as you scroll down, you'll see that there is a developer tab that is unchecked. Go ahead and check that and click OK. That's it. Your developer tab is updated and enabled, and that is the first step. The next step is just enable your macro security. So you're navigating over to the developer tab, hitting macro security, and then enabling all macros in Outlook. This is what I use. Now the reason I use this is I know the VBA code I'm putting in here, and I'm going to walk you through every line of code. You're going to know exactly what this does. You're not running rogue code that could cause harm to your computer. Now what's the next thing you have to do? You have to set up references for leverage and lean macros. If this is your first time opening Visual Basic, you'll see just your Outlook session here, and what you need to do is you need to install a module. You can hit that black drop down. You now have a module 1. Within tools over here, you'll see a references selection. So here are all of the references that you need to start using this macro greeting goodbye. There's 5 listed here. If you need to just pause and make sure all of these are enabled, you can just navigate through this available references list and bring them up by check marking them. And that's it. Those are the 3 things you have to do to start using this macro today. And that does not take any time at all. So navigating back over here, all you need to do is then copy this code into Visual Basic. The easy way to do that is just in between the code lines and that space here, double click, and you've selected all of this code for the greeting goodbye macro. Navigating back into Visual Basic in Module 1, you can paste all of this. Now another thing I want to show you in this video is I want to stack this along side by side to show you what happens when you fire this macro. So I'm just going to go ahead and reply to this existing email that I have here, and I have this email open. I'm ready to start out this email. If I just move this over to the side and then I bring over Visual Basic, let's walk through each line of this code. Just by hitting F8, I'm going to walk through here. If there is ever an error, it is going to drop me all the way down to the leverage and lean line here, and it's just going to fire a message box saying something went wrong. You can shoot me an email if you have any questions. As I continue to work through here, what is happening is I'm looking for the current email I have selected and I'm setting it. So I'm now looking at this email, and then I'm asking 2 questions. What is the day of the week? Today is Monday. And what is the time of the day? It is about 6:30. Now within this section is where it's really customizable, because if the time of the day is less than 9 a.m., you're going to get good morning. If the weekday is Friday and it's past 3:30, you're going to get hello as the greeting and then enjoy your weekend. And the same thing goes on. If it's any other weekday but Friday, you're going to get have a great night. And if it's neither of these things, you just get the hello to start out your email. So as it works through, it takes this existing information to these 2 answers and then populates your greeting and goodbye into this email body variable. And that is what's going to populate into your email. And that's what I'm doing here in this code. So then just navigating through and finishing out, you'll see if you look on the left, this email has now been populated, and all I'm doing is unsetting my object variables and then exiting the sub before I get to this error handler so you don't see that once this code runs. And that's it. So you've seen every line of code and what this does, which is pretty cool. Now another really awesome thing you can do with this macro is you can enable it to fire in those reply and reply all buttons. And I actually have some additional code down here in the customize section to show you how to do that. So to actually make this work, you have to also select all of this code listed here. Again, an easy way to do that is just in between the code lines and that white space. Copy that. Let's navigate back into Visual Basic, and I'll make this bigger again. And then in this Outlook session is where you're pasting all of this additional code. Now what this is doing is it's actually at the startup going to identify and watch your every move. So it's doing this here at the startup of Outlook. It's then going to watch every selection that you make, and then based on the selected email, here is your reply button and reply all buttons. And within these buttons, you can actually call a macro to fire, and you can see that I have that listed here in these comments here. So now what do you have to do? Just navigating back into module 1 at the beginning of this greeting goodbye, instead of just saying sub, you also need to type in the word public. And then you can copy the name greeting and goodbye, and we're going to take this over into this Outlook session. Now a couple things I'm showing you in your Outlook session. I actually made a little call out here at the application startup, so when Outlook starts up, you can actually call a macro as a trigger there. Now I'm not showing that in this video, but it's a nice little hint to say there's a lot of places you can fire additional macros, but where we want to put this macro name is right here in the reply button and also the reply all button. And then the last thing you have to do is just remove this little comment, and you'll see it turn from green text just to blue and that black text there. All right. So there it is. That's all you need to do to set up to then have this macro be embedded into reply and reply all buttons. And the only other thing you have to do, and I hinted at that, is to get the fire, you actually have to restart Outlook. So let me show you that quick. I'm just going to close and refire Outlook. I'm going to jump through this to make this go a little faster. All right, so I restarted Outlook, and I'm going to show you now that this greeting goodbye macro is embedded in my reply and reply all buttons. All I need to do is hit reply, and it will automatically fire when I reply to this email. So this is great. I absolutely recommend setting up that additional VBA code to fire this macro automatically, but I will tell you that there is some chaining going on. I showed you in that code that it's watching every selection you make in Outlook, and if that chain is broken, you have to restart Outlook. If you find yourself in bad situations of not having to restart Outlook, or you just really don't want to, I always recommend creating a custom button. Let me show you how to do this quick. If you navigate to the Customize Quick Access toolbar and more commands, you can go into Customize Ribbon. Within Customize Ribbon, we need to make a new group. You can do that just by selecting New Group here. Now you'll see it navigate here. Where I want to put it is actually in between the clipboard and basic text. So I'll just use the arrows to move it over there and rename this. I always like to clear out the name. You can absolutely name your group whatever you want. I just like it to be blank. Now with your custom group selected, drop down from popular commands over to macros, and the only macro you should have available is your greeting goodbye macro. Unless you've been using leveraging the macros, which I absolutely appreciate, you'll have a big list here, but find the one that says greeting goodbye, and then you can move this over. And I always want to rename this because this just doesn't look good. The image isn't good, and the lack of spaces makes it hard to read. So just delete that project one, put a space here. I like to use the time icon just because it's looking at time and day of the week. You can use whatever you want as an icon, click OK. So what I like to do is if this macro fails, that chaining is broken, which most of the time it works, but when automation fails, you always have to have a contingency plan. That's why I use those command buttons. You can just delete this, and I'll show you what this looks like. You can just fire it with one click. All right. So navigating back to this macro page I have out here, that's all you got. There's just some insights here on the customize section. You can enter in your own greeting and goodbyes. I absolutely want to know what you think of this macro and this Macro Monday. More macros to come. And as always, stay awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to view this video. I really do appreciate it. If you want to start using this macro today, just visit leveragelean.com. If you could do me another big favor, please subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay updated on any new videos that I'm posting. Follow us on all of our social media channels, and as always, stay awesome.